Okay, so I wanted to make a quick video about the Alabama special election between Roy Moore and Doug Jones. So I actually talked a little bit about this morning in my morning video, but I wanted to make kind of a video for a more general audience. Anyways, my basic point here is this. Doug Jones has a higher percentage chance of winning the special election than the market currently gives him credit for. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Let's pull up our desktop. So this is the predicted markets. This is one of the better markets to look at how people are betting for these sorts of things. And right now we can see here they have Roy Moore 71 cents and Doug Jones 33 cents. When I first made these comments this morning, it was actually more like Roy Moore 80 cents and Doug Jones 15 cents. Anyways, so let's just look at the polls. So first of all, why the change just today? Well, there was a poll out today from Fox News that had Jones up plus 10. However, if we come down here and we look, we notice that the Fox News poll has actually been trending Jones plus 8, for a while. And you can see that the spread is actually fairly even when you consider the margin of error. Like especially these ones right here where the margin of error was almost 5 points. This one had Moore plus 6. He's really only up, 1.5 outside of the margin of error. And here you can also kind of see that what happened was, everything was going along pretty normal Alabama election, and then all this stuff about Roy Moore came out, and, things tightened up, and then the story kind of died down and Moore pulled away. So why do I think that Doug Jones has a better chance of winning than the market is giving him credit for? Well, first of all, let's keep in mind that these kinds of polls, especially when you're talking about polls in a state that usually isn't competitive, and so the polls just aren't very mature, they're often wildly inaccurate. So just as an example, in Utah, there was many polls before the election that showed Evan McMullen having a chance at, at least polling well. And of course, almost nobody actually voted for him on election day. This was also what the pollsters got wrong with election day and Donald Trump, because the electorate ended up being very different from what the pollsters expected. So what would I look at instead? What am I looking at? What are the campaigns actually doing? So when we look back at the presidential election, Donald Trump was trying very, very hard in those last days in those blue states, whereas Hillary Clinton was just kind of passing it off. And so it was very clear at that point that Hillary thought that she had it in the bag, but Donald Trump saw something that made him think that he had a good chance of winning those states. In this election, what we're seeing is Donald Trump is put out a robocall in support of Roy Moore, and he's basically like all in on Roy Moore at this point. And meanwhile, the Democrats have been pushing the Doug Jones, Me Too kind of storylines as hard as they can. Both sides want to win this race, and the fact that they're putting so much political capital behind the race says to me that both sides know that there is a good chance that they could lose. So what would be more reasonable odds? I would say Roy Moore 55%, Doug Jones 45%. I can't really predict it with any certainty, but I do think that Doug Jones stands a much better chance than the 71 to 33 that he's being given on predicted. So keep that in mind, because this isn't about any one party. I voted for Trump. I'm a pretty strong Republican, but this isn't about anybody's ideology. This is about the data and the probabilities and what it shows. And what it shows right now is that if you have trades that are dependent on the Trump trade, you might want to hedge a little bit, because we don't actually know what's going to happen. And if Doug Jones gets in there, it's going to be very hard for the Senate to do anything. So yeah, before I go, I just wanted to plug my Patreon page again. I'm doing a lot of really interesting stuff with Bitcoin and specifically some altcoins that you might be really interested in. So if you want in on that, become a premium subscriber on the Patreon. I have the link in the comments. And of course, I'll see you tomorrow morning.